Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome back to the Suburban Rifleman. I'm going to run home and grab my rifle and head over to the range in a little bit. But I have a technical problem which I've been trying to solve, and I want to talk about it just a little bit before we go shooting. And the rifle I want to shoot today is set up for a bipod. And I don't have a really good quality bipod right at the moment. As a matter of fact, in the next 24 to 48 hours, I'm probably going to be ordering a new Harris bipod. What bipod I have that I can use today is this. And this is not a Harris bipod. This is a bipod that I bought about 20 years ago. I know, I'm constantly saying I bought this thing about 20 years ago because at one point in my life I was acquiring things like crazy. Today, not so much. But I spent only about 20 bucks on this. I bought it at Walmart. I don't remember. It was branded Blackhawk or Remington or Winchester or Outers or Hoppies. I don't know. I know I got it at Walmart. I know it cost about 20 bucks. And I really didn't expect, first of all, I didn't know anything about bipods back in those days. Second of all, I never expected it to have lasted as long as it has. And I've used this a lot. Now, there's several problems with these cheap Chinese bipods, and you can get them today off of Amazon from companies like CV Life, I think it's called, and there's a couple others, and even reputable companies like Caldwell. Caldwell sells some Chinese-made Harris clones that are dimensionally very similar to this, but they're held to a little bit higher standard, but none of them is as good as a Harris. And particularly these older ones, they tended to be a little wonky when they would come from the factory. First of all, they tend to be a little cattywampus. You really don't want your bipod twisting even under recoil. Even, you know, in a dynamic situation, you don't want your bipod twisting on the bench. And you certainly don't want your bipod twisted when it goes onto the bench. Now, luckily, I'm pretty mechanically inclined, and I'm very fortunate to have access, pretty much unfettered access to a machine shop. So I had to make some modifications to this, and I've got this bipod tuned up pretty well. Unlike some people's experiences, the springs on this are actually quite strong. It doesn't have a tendency to want to collapse or anything when you're shooting. It was a little crooked, but one real problem with these bipods is the feet. The feet on this bipod are made out of, you know, rubber, but it's really a rather hard rubber-ish plastic. And the bipod serves very well to support the front of your rifle. But the purpose of a bipod is to create a very stable relationship between the bench top and your rifle. Now, at the top, it's firmly attached to your rifle. But the weak link in this whole thing is the grip that your bipod feet have on your work surface, on your bench surface. The benches at my club are wood. This hard, plasticky rubber slides rather easily on the benches. And I want to be able to get better accuracy than I can get with slidey feet. So I really looked at this bipod very hard. There are all kinds of aftermarket options for feet that are designed to go onto Harris bipods. This is a clone made in China. Things that are designed for the Harris may or may not fit on here, but they're not cheap. To get a set of feet, you're going to end up spending probably 2 or 3 times what I paid for the bipod in the first place. So then I thought about, well, maybe I turn some spiky type feet on the lathe at the shop and install them myself, but that's a lot of time and effort as well. And I kept thinking about this, and you know, I just thought there had to be something simpler than modifying the bipod. And then one day the light bulb went off a couple of days ago, and I thought, well, if I can't make the feet on the bipod grippier, maybe I can make my bench surface grippier. And it occurred to me that I had purchased a while ago for another project a sheet of skateboard deck tape. I went to a skateboard shop and bought a sheet of deck tape. This is black magic tape. And I had, heck, a full sheet. You can see I only ever used a little tiny piece out of it. And I thought, well, this stuff is really built for grip. And so I looked around a little bit and I found a plank. This is a piece of poplar that's been sitting outside. It's probably beyond well seasoned. It's actually a little bit, it had gotten a little punky. There are some cracks and stuff in there. But I sanded it down, I planed it down a little bit and got it nice and square. And I applied some deck tape to the top of it. And so now my bipod feet should not slide on this surface. This is very, very grippy. But it did occur to me that perhaps the bottom of this plank could slide on the bench under recoil. And so I put some more strips of skateboard tape on the bottom of here so that the plank grips the shooting bench. And I'm confident. I think this is going to be a pretty good system. I'm still ordering that good quality Harris bipod, but I think we can make that bipod work pretty well with this surface. When I put the bipod onto this grip tape surface, I can clearly really preload that bipod. Well, there it did skip a little bit, but if I keep downward pressure, as there will be when I have the rifle mounted to the bipod, you can really preload this pretty well. And even under recoil, the legs will flex. It's hard for me to hold this square. It'd be easier if I had a rifle here. The legs will flex before the feet skip. So that's pretty good. And then I was still concerned about perhaps this plank moving on the shooting bench. So I have here a 20-pound block of hard lead, and I have it wrapped in blue painter's tape because I think we can all agree that lead is pretty toxic. I try not to get it all over my hands any more than necessary. I can put this lead block onto my new shooting bench surface, and our bipod legs will neatly straddle the block without ever touching it. So this is going to be a pretty good system, I think. So let me run home and grab my rifle, and then we're going to head over to the club and we're going to try this thing out and see if it works. I'll try taking some slow motion video so that we can see if the feet move at all under recoil. So anyway, if some of you have a cheap bipod out there and you're concerned about your feet moving on the bench top, this might be an idea you might want to try. So I'm going to go get my rifle. We're going to head to the range, and I'll see you there. Later, guys.